Stephen Shortt helps people find work that fits and organizations build teams that last. He asks a question most of us avoid for far too long. What if the life that you've built around work no longer fits who you're becoming? As CEO of CareerFit and Talent Select and creator of frameworks like Successful Succession, Happy Work-Life Map, and the Leadership Profile, his work is rooted in a deceptively simple mission: happier people in fulfilling, rewarding careers. He's spoken in more than 45 countries and worked with organizations including EO, Disney, National Geographic, EY, KPMG, PwC, and Trinity College Dublin. What makes Stephen especially compelling is that his work is not just about careers on paper. It's about identity, energy, values, family, and the quiet cost of staying in the wrong role for far too long. That lens became even more personal after a difficult period with his health, when he openly shared his type 2 diabetes diagnosis and the mindset shift that helped him rebuild his habits and sense of purpose. He brings strategy, humor, empathy, and a rare ability to make big life questions feel both honest and actionable. And before we start this episode, a quick word from our sponsor, Deep Wealth, and the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery Program. Here's Jane, a graduate, who says, and I quote, "The Deep Wealth Mastery Program prevented me from making what would have been one of the biggest mistakes of my career. I almost signed on the dotted line with an unsolicited offer that I now realize would have shortchanged my hard work and my future had I accepted that offer. Deep Wealth Mastery has tilted the playing field to my advantage." Or how about Lynn? Wow, he gets right to the point, and I quote, "Deep Wealth Mastery is one of the best investments ever made because you'll get an ROI of 100 times that. Anyone who doesn't go through this will lose millions." And as you're listening to these testimonials, are you wondering if you have the time? Are you even thinking that you've got this covered? You have the advisors or people in your network? Well, I got to tell you, these myths, they're often behind the 90% failure rate for liquidity events. Think about it. You have one chance to get it right for your financial freedom. You really want to make it count. And when it comes to time, let's hear what William has to say. We just got in this testimonial. William says, and I quote, "I didn't have the time for Deep Wealth Mastery, but I made the time and I'm glad I did. What I learned goes far beyond any other executive program or coach I've experienced." So what do you think? As I hear that, that's exactly what gets me out of bed every day. That's my mission. That's the team's mission here at Deep Wealth, to literally change the social fabric of society, one business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. And my Deep Wealth Nation, what I want you to know, the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, it isn't theory. It's from the trenches. It's the only one based on a 9-figure deal. And that deal, that was my deal. You know my story. I said no to a 7-figure offer. I created a system that later on, myself and my business partners, we said yes to a different buyer, a different offer, a 9-figure deal. That's what we now call the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, or the Scale for Ultimate Sales system. It's built by business owners for business owners. So if you're interested in growing your profits, for preparing for a future liquidity event, and that may be 2 years away, it could be 22 years away, whatever the time may be, you want to do this now, and you want to optimize your post-exit life. Deep Wealth Mastery is for you. To get started, email success@deepwealth.com. Again, that's success, SUCCESS, at deepwealth.com. You'll receive all the information about the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, or better yet, why not hop on a complimentary strategy call? We'll go through exactly where your business is today and what's standing between you and your financial independence and your dreams. So that's where you want to be. You want to be with other successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders just like you. They're looking to grow their businesses, create market disruptions, and unlock their financial freedom to get what they deserve. And whether you've been in business for 3 years, 40 years, you're a startup, you're in manufacturing, you're in high tech, low tech, whatever the case may be, come on in and network with other business owners. It's a safe space. It's a confidential space with business owners, with businesses just like you, because they all want to lock in their financial freedom and enjoy both success and fulfillment. So again, the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery Program, it has your name on it. All you need to do is take the next step. Please send an email to success@deepwealth.com. Deep Wealth Nation, welcome to another episode of the Deep Wealth Podcast. Well, Deep Wealth Nation, let me ask you this. Where are you in your business? Where are you in your life? Do you have success and fulfillment, or just one, the other? What if you could have both? What if you have your cake and eat it too? Well, you heard the official introduction. We have a very special guest in the house of Deep Wealth. I'm going to put a plug in right there because we got the real deal. Stephen, welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. I got to tell you, by the way, I love your accent from over the pond, although I'm sure I have the accent to you. But that said, and perhaps we'll get there, but that said, what's your story, Stephen? What got you from where you were to where you are today?
Well, hi, Jeffrey. Thanks for having me on the podcast. It's great to be here. So I've grown up in two family businesses. So I've grown up in an entrepreneurial world from a very young age. Realized early on that I would probably make a horrible employee. So I was destined to only be able to work for myself. I did the whole working for other people bit for a while, especially when I was learning my way around the industry. I worked in New York for a while. I did odd jobs around the place, but I always ended up taking on a more leadership role is probably a strong word, but trying to make things better, improve things where I saw them, even in environments where people at my level weren't, let's say, encouraged to step up and make changes and make things better. So I have grown up two entrepreneurial parents, grew up in two family businesses, ended up buying both of them, nearly walked away from the whole lot because I was arguing so much with my folks around a couple of things, and thought when my wife was pregnant with our second child, I need to leave the family business because if I don't, my parents will never see their grandkids because we won't be able to be in the same room as each other. And that, as soon as I said that out loud, I had a visceral reaction to it, figured out, built a framework around it. Now I help lots of other family businesses who are in similar situations. But I bought both family businesses. I sold one of them that was 100% reliant on international travel, sold that at the end of 2019.
Oh, just in time.
Just in time. Did not see what was coming. Everyone always asked me, did I know what was coming? I said, if I knew what was coming, I would have put all my money in Bitcoin, Pfizer stock, and PPE equipment. I didn't do any of those things, so no, I didn't know what was coming. And now we focus on making the world a better place with happy people in fulfilling, rewarding careers.
Love what I'm hearing. You know, at Deep Wealth, we have a saying, all the success, all the zeros in the bank, all the accolades mean absolutely nothing if there's no fulfillment. And for a period of time, Stephen, I was that poster child of success without fulfillment, which is failure. It's no success at all. So let's take a step back for just a moment. This is one of my favorite questions, Pareto's Law or the 80-20 principle. Offline, you're sharing with me, you had a very prestigious role. You're the MC at the recent EO conference, and you had a gazillion founders and entrepreneurs there, and you're leading the charge with that. With the work that you're doing, when it comes to us founders, we're an interesting lot, aren't we? We have a very
interesting
particular...
is probably the most politically correct way of putting it. Yeah,
yeah, we could put a whole bunch of explicitives in it. But when it comes to what you shared just now, which I love, with fulfillment and joy and happiness and success, where are we perhaps not getting it right? We're going to go glass half empty, and then we'll go to glass half full, as we usually do. What's out there? Is there a particular pattern? Yeah, Jeffrey, you know what? 95% of the founders that I work with, it's the same issue. There's one or two issues over here that are creating the gap. What's going on? What kind of patterns are you seeing, Stephen?
So one of the things that I see most commonly, I wrote an article on Inc. blog about this about a year and a half ago, and why you hate the job you created. Because a lot of founders, they have the personality type that they are in it for the hustle. They like rolling their sleeves up, getting creative, figuring out stuff, trying to break stuff to make it work and trying to make it better and all the rest of it. And we have this thing called the S-curve of innovation. Every company goes through this. Down at the bottom of that S-curve, you might even be dipping below how well things are running because you're breaking everything. You're just pushing through it. A lot of the time, it's the charisma and the camaraderie of the founding team that are just by pure will and luck and chewing gum and spit and polish and everything else is just driving this on. Then once you hit a certain point and you start to come up along that optimization curve, as you start to go towards pure optimization, that's when the people who are most comfortable with the hustle and bustle, they start to feel trapped. They start to feel unfulfilled. They're not feeling that rush anymore. And that's when you hear these founders that long for the days when they were in the parents' basement or in the attic, in your case, long for that kind of excitement and that camaraderie because now it's gotten a little bit too predictable and board meetings and investor meetings and stuff like that. And then the company eventually just gets to the top of that S curve and it's just about pure optimization. There's no more real innovation. It's just optimization. What happens is the founders that are there at the beginning of that S curve, as they're coming up along that optimization, the money's coming in, the success is coming in, but they're not feeling fulfilled. So that's when they need to jump to the next S curve. They need to jump to the next innovation and start doing things. They can do what I call an inside hustle rather than completely breaking or selling the business. They might find a new product, a new service, a new ancillary thing, or an in-house something that they can build so they can be part of that R&D thing, and then have people who are much more comfortable with the optimizing and their personality is much more process orientated to be able to bring that to a higher level of success. Whereas the founder might be more comfortable in really trying new things and building new products or services.
And so as you're describing that, oh my goodness, I am seeing Jeffrey of all the times post-exit, not pre-exit, post-exit. Yeah. I was there. I had all the trappings of success and time was now my own and financial independence and all those kinds of things. But to your point, wow, did I miss the hustle? Did I miss being needed? I was the business was me. And as I've shared on this podcast with Deep Wealth Nation, they can relate many a times some of the, I'll just call it for what it is, stupidest mistakes that could possibly be made. I made them not pre-exit, post-exit because of that. And so for all the founders out there who are hearing the two of us talk right now, Stephen, in our fireside chat, with your expertise, with your ability to help us founders where we really need the help, what can we be doing today that no guarantees, and we'll probably still make mistakes, that's a human condition, that we can either minimize that, potentially eliminate that, so no matter what's going on in our life, we do have that fulfillment with that success and not going down that unfillable void that typically happens.
I had a mentor years ago use the line, no business, no problems, but no problems. Our businesses ultimately are there to fix problems for our clients. I mean, that's really what it is. So we always have to have problems. We always have to have things, which means that stuff is going to go wrong and we're going to make mistakes. That is the only guarantee. For me, so I built this framework called the Happy People Project, and HAPPY is an acronym for highlights, appreciation, progress, people, and your contribution. And it's the different buckets that we have in our work life, in our personal life, and everything that we can do to understand what it is that we actually want out of life and looking at end goals rather than means goals. But ultimately, it all boils down to this simple truth. Happiness or success, and success is really just happiness, really, in a professional context, really. Happiness is so hard to define on a global level because it is so individualistic and so personal for every single person. What happiness means to you can be vastly different from what happiness means to me. But happiness ultimately boils down to progress towards purpose. If you can figure out what that purpose is for you, what are the goals that you want to accomplish, what are the things you want to have, and the Happy Framework helps you to identify what those are. If you're making progress, no matter how slowly, towards those, that to me is the key to happiness. If you don't have a purpose and you're just pushing, you're spinning your wheels, you're going in any direction. Whereas if you have a purpose, but you're stuck, you're not making any progress, then you feel completely frustrated. But if you can get the two of those aligned, that is, to me, the key to a happier life.
And as you're talking about that, Stephen, so let's speak to someone in Deep Wealth Nation. They're, again, hearing us talk. Okay, yeah, Stephen, heard you on the Deep Wealth podcast and with your happy system, sign me up. And so now you and I are working together, and from your systems, we're going to roll back the curtain here, a little bit of your secret sauce in terms of what you've done over the years. What does it look like when I'm working with you in terms of, and I know every journey is different. Every individual is an individual and it's unique. But that said, again, generally speaking, how long does it tend to take and what am I doing that I can begin to unlearn what I've learned that isn't helping me and now apply your beautiful insights and strategies?
So I just did a workshop last week with a group of senior executives, senior leaders, and the workshop itself takes about an hour and a half to get through the whole framework and to start writing down on those lists. And I've had 3 of them come back to me at least twice in the last week. Some of them arrived into the workshop thinking, oh yeah, this is a whatever workshop, we'll get through this and then we'll go to the pub. And but they've all shared with me actually how impactful the workshop was, how impactful that framing that I got them into the mindset of thinking was, and then that they have all continued to add to those lists to really sit and percolate with it. It's not something that you're going to fix in an hour and a half. That's the start of the process. And then having people go away, think more about the things they want to add to those buckets, seeing where those golden threads are that go between stuff that's happened in the past, stuff that I want to have happen in the future, stuff that I want to put out into the world. How do we see what progress I need to make? Who are the people? And all of that tying together gives you an idea of what are the goals you want to have. 1, 3, 5, 10, 20, whatever your goals. And that's what I call, then you create your map, my action plan. So how do I get to those? And then understanding how those goals are in common and what they are together, that gives you more of a clarity to your life purpose. What is it that you actually want to accomplish? Because some people, this notion of, okay, you got to figure out your life purpose is such a massive thing that can be so many different things, that actually understanding what it is that you want to accomplish, that gives you more of an insight into your purpose.
And so happy, so highlights, appreciation, progress, people, your contribution. When we look at the happy framework, is there one area of the 5 that people tend to resist the most?
I don't think people resist it as much, but when we get to appreciation bit, like people can, the first bit of highlights, people can think, what do they want their future highlights to be? Where do they want to visit, start a family, start a whatever. When I go then to appreciation and I talk about, okay, I want you to think about all the moments that have brought you to here, both good and bad, because there are some people, and look, there's people I've worked with who've had traumatic experiences in their past that is really painful to revisit. But what I want them to appreciate is that has taught them resilience. They're here today because they've got through that. I'm not saying ignore it. I'm not saying discount it, but understand that those things have taught you resilience that have helped you to shape who you are today. But the happy framework is all about looking forward. So a lot of modern psychology is really, it's very focused on Freud and looking at the back and looking inward to your history, whereas I'm more of an Adler fan and looking forward and overcoming that imposter syndrome stuff and where are we going? Because yes, we need to deal with stuff that happened in the past, but if we spend all of our time there, we can't change that. We can only change what we're doing going forward.
It's interesting. And as you're speaking about going forward, that brings me to the progress side. So what is it about the human condition that psychologically the forward movement is important to us, even more than some of the big wins?
I have so many conversations around this kind of stuff, stopping and celebrating the wins with entrepreneurs because they just want to keep going and keep moving up and the next mountain is higher and all the rest of it. I think we all need to be growing all businesses need to be growing, but I don't necessarily mean that you need to be increasing your revenue 10x or you need to be increasing your headcount by whatever year on year. I think growth can happen in a number of ways, and you can have growth in terms of your leaders' growth, their personal abilities to be able to do stuff. Because if you just stand still, everything else is moving around you, so you'll start to go back. Even if you're just staying still, you've reached a plateau and you're happy where you are, the world around you will move on without you. So we need to be moving forward. We need to be improving and we need to be doing things that we want to be doing to get to where we want to get to.
And as you're talking about that, Stephen, really what I'm going back to, you're taking me down memory lane, what no one told me as a founder. And for me, it was such a fundamental failure post-exit that now in Deep Wealth Mastery, we have our 9-step roadmap. We slide it in. It's really the 10th step that we've built in, and it's not even into step 1, it's right into the introduction, life after the exit. And for all you founders out there in Deep Wealth Nation, you're saying, well, I'm not going to sell the business. Okay, fine. You are going to have an exit. Hopefully it's not the final exit that we are going to have. We just don't know when it is. It might be the exit of a family members coming in to take over, or the next generation, or maybe you're bringing investors, but you're still involved. You're going to be on a board of directors. You're not as involved in the business. And so from my side, I didn't have that identity of life outside the business. And what I really appreciate with what you're talking about right now with the happy work life map that you're doing, it's right here now today. Don't wait for your exit, however many years or decades away. Begin to build that structure or those rhythms or those rituals that don't involve the business. And do some trial balloons, try it out. Hey, I hated that. Couldn't stand that activity. The first second I got there, I knew it wasn't for me, and an hour felt like 10 years. Okay, not going to do that again. Or this other one, wow, that hour, it flew by. It felt like a minute. Well, great, do more of that. So for founders, as we're listening to this, Stephen, as we're being introduced to your work now, if we don't already know it, what would you be telling us from things we're probably not considering that would help us tremendously in not just our personal life, but our business life as well, by being more well-rounded and with the happy work-life map?
So the happy work-life map, it helps us all to figure out our life by design. So just on when you're talking about the exit, I don't work with a lot of founders who exit. I tend to be more at the scale up and then the inside hustle thing. Where I work with family businesses at succession planning, that's where we have more of an issue with current generation who are exiting, who are retiring, who are passing the baton. And I have a whole framework, the 5 Ps of successful succession, where I understand that. But the biggest problem that current generation people have is that their identity is wrapped up just in the business. They don't have other stuff beyond that. So one of the things that I do, and if you're somebody who's looking at scaling up a business to exit or to look at maybe stepping back a little bit, I would encourage you to really start looking at how do you identify yourself beyond your title or your role or your business? Because if you don't have other things, you're going to feel trapped into that thing, because it will feel like a death to not be that owner of that business or the vice president of whatever. So having those other things gives us that opportunity. One of the phrases that I use, a friend of mine hit me with it a couple of years ago, which is a definition of hell, or the definition of hell is, on your last day on earth, you meet the person you could have become. And when I start the workshop with that, and I can see people's faces and they're going, oh my God, and they're thinking about potential and lost potential, and they start to feel under pressure. They're, oh my God, I need to do so much more. I need to do so much this. My wife used to tell me all the time, when my kids were younger, that if it wasn't for her and the girls, I'd probably be flying around the world, doing workshops, doing speaking things, doing consulting and all the rest of it, living the high life, living on a yacht, flying private, all this, all the good fun stuff. But I can tell you with absolute certainty, having done a lot of work on this happy work-life map now, if on my last day on earth, I meet that version of myself, the high-flying, living up to absolutely every possible thing, but I don't have my wife and kids, I want that. It is a different version, but actually that's not what I want, because what I'm doing now is building the life that I want to have. So that is the really important element to this, the happy framework. It's what do you actually want? Not what do other people think you should be doing or should want, or not what do your parents or your school friends who you haven't seen in 20 years, what do they think that you should be doing? To hell with that. What do you want, and how can you go about doing that?
As you're talking about that, the wheels are turning, but I'm also thinking about what you're doing, because Stephen, you're a very busy individual making a difference and helping people out there. And I know one of the things that you play a large role in with different organizations and with founders is on the talent side, ensuring that I can bring not only the right person on the right bus, as the saying goes, but having the right person on the right bus in the right seat. And so let's make this real for Deep Wealth Nation, because oftentimes, and I've been there myself as a founder, okay, I'm too busy to deal with this. Yeah, on paper, the person looks good. How bad could it be? Let's just bring them on. They can do a good interview. Great. Let's see how it goes. We're going to roll the dice. A bad hire. Give us the real deal of what we're probably not thinking about and the actual results from a bad hire that we should really know.
So a cost of a bad hire, depending on which reports you read from various insiders, I mean, I've seen people claim it's 20 times the salary. I don't think it's that dramatic, but I think anywhere from 3 to 5 times that person's salary is a really legitimate and reliable metric to be able to see, okay, this person, I'm taking this person on at 60,000. If it doesn't work out because of not only their salary that they've been paid, but the impact that they have on their teammates, the impact that they have on the business overall, because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's loss of productivity, loss of momentum, loss of morale. It could be reputational damage if they're out there dealing with your clients and the clients are unhappy. the fees of hiring again and advertising and going through that whole sales onboarding process and everything else, not to mention the emotional, I mean, that 3 to 5 times, that's just the money. But then there's the emotional damage and the emotional turmoil of the founder or the HR manager or whoever having to go through this process again and retrain somebody else again. So it can have a massive impact on your business. And unfortunately, most people aren't very good at hiring people because we have these things called unconscious biases that it exists. It is a fundamental part of the human psyche. So you and I like the same sports team. Brilliant. That must mean you're an amazing CFO. Nothing to do with anything else. So I'm going to trust you with all my money. So that's the way that we work, because we have to, like, saying unconscious biases shouldn't exist is like saying we shouldn't be breathing. It's a part, like our fundamental Neanderthalic brain. When we met people at the beginning, at the first meeting people, we had to figure out within 5 seconds, is this person going to be my friend, or are we going to fight to the death because they're going to try and take my land or something like that? So this is the way we have to be able to categorize. Where unconscious biases become a problem is when we don't address them, when we just go, okay, well, this is what I believed when I was 6 years old and I'm now 48 and I still believe that group of people are this way. That's the problem. But when you're hiring, you need to be able to see, what do I want in the role? What's the role? What kind of person is required for this role based on my culture of my organization, the personality of what that role needs? So I think most people can understand a chief marketing officer and a chief financial officer probably have very different personality types to be successful in the same organization. So what kind of personality? What kind of skills? Like, do we want somebody who's able to use AI, or do we want somebody who's more interpersonal for this role? So understanding what that is, and then what are they going to be expected to do? And that's where we need to really start thinking about, even at the very first, we need to spec the role based on that.
And as you're talking about that, Stephen, let's use your example of 60,000 in whatever currency it happens to be, and doesn't really make a difference. Yeah. Bring somebody on board for 60,000, and you're saying it could be up to 5 times in terms of what we're paying the person. Okay, 60,000, 5 times, if my math is right, that's around $300,000. Wow, I can have a lot more fun just blowing that money on frivolous, nonsensical things than the misery of having things not work out with that person, having to deal with the team of why the person isn't working out, the mess that they're creating along, only because I either didn't have the tools, didn't have somebody like you as an advisor in the business helping me to navigate through that to bring the person on board. Or on the flip side, and hopefully as a founder of Deep Wealth Nation, you've been there, you do bring on the right person. Wow, he or she is a rainmaker. What a difference that means for the business, even for yourself. I get to fire myself from this role in the business because Jane is so much better than how I could do it on my own. So it's a very real issue.
Jane is so much better because Jane's interests and Jane's personality means that she actually enjoys the type of work that you hate doing, and she finds the type of work that you enjoy doing really either terrifying or boring or whatever. So you're actually complementing each other to be able to bring that on. So it's not saying, oh, well, I don't like that work, so I'm just going to get some peon to do it. It's actually you're bringing on people whose real talent is to do that thing well, and they want to join, they're aligned with the direction that you want to go in or the values of the organization or whatever it is, and you guys can work well together. So you're becoming stronger because of the sum of the parts.
Yes. And as you're talking through that, when we have a new member in our Deep Wealth Mastery program, even before we get going, one of the first questions that we ask, and it's a straightforward question, Deep Wealth Nation knows this question very well. Does your business run without you? Yes or no? There's no in-betweens. Yes or no? No stories. And typically, we get neither. We get neither the no nor the yes. We get stories. And the truth is, even if there's a leadership team, the founder is the center of the universe. Everything goes through the founder. And the pushback that I get, well, Jeffrey, sure, Jane is terrific, but I'm better than Jane. I can do it quicker. And as great as Jane is, maybe 80% as good as me or 75% as good as me. So to that listener in Deep Wealth Nation, who that is the narrative that they keep on telling themselves, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this as well. Like, they're not as good as me. There might be 70, 80% as good as me. But if that's not your super strength, if that's not where you're the rainmaker in the organization, if you're having to do that job, let's say it's, for me, it would be accounts. I'm terrible with numbers. And I can do it. I can go through these spreadsheets and I can put in the numbers. I can put all the other stuff, but my brain starts to glaze over. I can do it, but when I pay somebody else to do it, they do it much quicker with much more interest, and it's much more reliably done, which frees up my time of doing that to actually go and do podcasts and meet potential clients and do videos and do the stuff that I really enjoy doing. And maybe I could do it and save myself the salary of that person, but it means that I'm going to be doing it until 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening every night, when I could be doing 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, doing meeting clients and doing other stuff that's more aligned with where I'm bringing the most value to the organization.
Yeah. And the flip side of that, and Stephen, you can say, Jeffrey, you're on base or off base. I bring somebody on, even if they're only 70% as good, that is all that he or she is doing the entire time they're in the business. Not me. I'm sporadical. I get to it when I get to it, which means I'm missing it most of the time.
100%.
I'm halfway through it. I get distracted onto something else. When it's someone's full-time focus, and they really love doing that, to your point, they fit in with the culture, they're adding to it, we are infinitely better. Quick story for you, Stephen. I was back in the day, we were talking offline about our exit here that we had with my business partners, with our e-learning company, Embanet. We were meeting with one of the potential buyers. And I was furious because they came back with our projections, and our profits were insanely high. For every dollar of revenue, we were keeping 53 cents, not gross, but net. And when they did their version of the projections, they came back and it was 20% profit. And I spoke to the investment banker and I said, what's wrong with this buyer? I want to speak with them. They're crazy. What? Are they thinking that we're lying, that we're not telling the truth? I want to meet with them. And I met with them, and in a very calm, cool, collected voice, the buyer said, Jeffrey, this has nothing to do with you, and don't take it personally. It really isn't personal. I buy so many businesses and I love my team, but I got to tell you, they're hired guns. They're not as committed as you. They're not as passionate as you. It's a corporate culture here. It's not a founder who's running it. And on a good day, it'll be 20%. In fact, I was considering putting it even lower because that's where it's typically at. But I put the 20% in because I knew how you are and the founder kind of culture that you have. But when it's not you that's there, it's not that as bad. It is what it is. And I just hope that you can respect that. And it taught me something walking out of that meeting that I had never considered before, from that founder mindset, in terms of, it's not bad, it's not good. There's no judgment on that. But the point is, that approach, it's far more scalable. So in other words, that kind of approach with a team, that's all that they're doing. Yeah, they may not be as good as me, but they'll have a larger company. They have that skill set. They have the experience. And as the saying goes, I'd rather have a smaller piece of a bigger pie than having the entire pie, which is a much smaller one.
But the other thing, just if you're talking about your founder exits, really, if the company is getting 53% net margin, but it's getting that because of the founder's drive, charisma, managing and everything else, the founder will never be able to sell that business. It has to work on systems with people that are not the founder. Otherwise, you're so integral to the organization and the smooth running of the business that you'll never be able to exit it. So if it's something you want to do, you've got to get the people in and have those systems, maybe drop them. Similar story, I had a friend who was looking to sell his business, had phenomenal margins, but when he was selling to industry, and he was decimating his industry averages in all of his margins. But when he went to sell, all of the competitors were like, look, yeah, you're making a lot of money, but we can't pay you based on what you're able to do. We can only pay you based on what we are able to do with your business. And even if that's a little bit better than what we're currently doing, because you have great systems, we can't match yours. So we can't give you that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to your point, Stephen, and this is one of the things that we had done before the exit. And Deep Old Nation, what Stephen's saying, as I like to say, it's not gold, it's platinum. You need to replicate yourself. You have to have systems in place. And I know on the EOS side, Stephen, you're all about that and how you approach things. It needs to be replicable a team is leading the charge, that you can carry this forward. And yeah, maybe it won't be as efficient as you, and maybe short-term wise, it's not going to be as effective, but longer-term wise, it will be, and you can scale it and take it to the next level. As so many buyers on this podcast have said, Jeffrey, I don't want to buy a business where it's now my second full-time job because I'm picking up the pieces with the founder no longer being here. And what are you seeing to that side of things, Stephen, when it comes to, we've been talking about talent and scalability and systems. What's that like for you when you're helping companies and founders get to that next level?
So the other mistake that some people, quite a few people, especially in scaling companies, make when they're taking on new, let's call them C-level people, but senior leaders and people that are growing the business, they don't hire for where they want to be. They're hiring for where they are. Especially if you're scaling, you need to be thinking, okay, this is what the person needs to be able to do now, but we're looking to grow, we're looking to 5x within the next 12 months, for example. So that marketing director needs to have a different skill set than this current marketing director. They need to be much better at, maybe they need to be much better at delegating because they're going to have a team. They can't be 5 times as big and still having it flow through one person messianically. So understanding what are the traits that you want for the role that you want this person to grow it into. I've had quite a few clients where we do pre-calls, especially with new clients on the role, and we go through the job spec and I push back on them a little bit and go, well, what are you looking to do in the next little while? Because what we do is we don't do a generic personality report and send it to you and go, right now you juggle that. We create a bespoke ideal profile for every role. So when people are applying, they're applying into that specific role. And then we tell the hiring manager, the founder, whatever, this person is 87% towards what your ideal candidate would look like. This person is 73%. This person is 96%, but on this one key criteria, they're quite low. So you might want to dig into that a little bit more, for example. So we make every single role specific. And when we're doing this and when we do the pre-call, a lot of the time I'll push back a little bit and go, well, okay, well, where are you growing to? Because you're saying you want somebody who is, let's say you want somebody who is a team player, but we're going to be aggressively growing, but we want somebody who's going to get along with everybody. It's like, well, if you're growing, you might want somebody whose like social bowl score is actually a little bit higher. They might rub people a little bit the wrong way to push forward to get to where they want to go, rather than sitting back and going, oh yes, well, okay, I understand it's really difficult, so take a break. So it depends on where you're going and what you're wanting to build. I've done a lot of stuff for founders and new companies that have got investment who are looking to scale their team and how big that company needs to be. We've also done stuff for financial institutions here in Ireland. So in the same week, a couple of weeks ago, we did a marketing manager for a tech startup and a marketing manager for a financial services firm. 2 vastly different personality profiles that were needed. So we do it bespoke on each one. Hire for fit, personality, attributes, like culture fit. It's a lot of that. And then you can teach the skills, whether it's AI, tech, whatever. Yeah.
So from that perspective, red flags, again, generally speaking, every company is different. Every role is going to be unique. That said, though, what would be some general red flags, very high level, that, hey, Jeffrey, if you're seeing this, whatever this is, run for the hills as fast as you can in the opposite direction. You don't want to proceed forward with that candidate.
One of the things, and I push back on this on some of these applications when people put stuff in, like, because we prepare people for interview skills and things like that. When they say, I'm trustworthy and reliable, I'm like, yeah, that's table stakes. If you're not that, who's going to want to hire you? We've interviewed people for ourselves and for other people who spend as much of the interview bad-mouthing their previous managers and previous employers in the interview process. And for me, that's the common problem seems to not be them. I don't know if I want to bring that drama on top of myself, no matter how talented you might be in other areas. But there are people who might want somebody who's confrontational, who's ready to push forward, who's passionate about getting through these different issues, because that's their culture. That's their company culture. That might be more competitive, more results orientated. Another organization, maybe in the same industry, might be more collaborative, might be more people orientated or individualistic or something like that. So really understanding what you're looking for and then creating your competency-based criteria around that. And then if they don't mix, that's a red flag.
And I would even throw this in there, and Jeffrey, again, on base or off base, if someone's pushing something too hard, oh, I'm such an honest person, and it's honest, probably not honest, and something's going on back there. It's funny with the human condition that way.
It's that old thing, if you have to tell everyone you're cool, you're not cool.
You're an expert with what I'm about to ask next. It's one of your areas of specialty, and it's a tough question that I know I've avoided so many times, and so many of us do. Again, it's all part of that human condition, and we get distracted and look at other things. But here's a question that you have so much experience with, and your guidance, your leadership, your wisdom can really make the difference. What would be the telltale signs that I'm chasing a life from the outside? It looks great. From the inside, it's draining me. It is literally sucking the life out of me.
Not only do I work with people who've been there, I've been there myself. I've been there going, I'm not getting excited in the mornings. I'm getting out of bed in the morning going, oh, do I have to go in and do this again? Do I have to be doing this? When I first felt that, I hadn't done any work around what did I want to be. I hadn't done any work around the Simon Sinek, what's my why? I hadn't done any real work around what did I want to be spending my time doing. And it's only when I spent a little bit of time reflecting on where am I in my flow? What do I actually want out of life? What do I want to accomplish? What are the things that are important to me, to then see where that aligns? And I had a really important mentor in my life at the time who, when I was figuring out what I wanted to do, I was still holding on to the business and trying to retrofit what the business did into what I wanted to build. And he really took me to task and said, look, is this really, like, it has gotten you to this point? And I'm not saying that it hasn't been, you weren't right at the time to take on this business, but is it still serving what you want to do? And that's really what helped me to figure out to sell that family business, because the industry was moving in a way that just wasn't exciting for me. It wasn't leaving me fulfilled. It wasn't fulfilling the values or what I wanted to bring to the world, whereas the other business was positioned to be able to help me with that. So if you're feeling stuck, it might be that you're on the wrong part of that S curve. It might be that you're just not clear on what your purpose is, or that purpose has changed over the last 10 years or 5 years, and what you were chasing then, you might have accomplished to a certain degree, or you might have gone down a certain amount of that road and gone, yeah, that's not what I want anymore. Things have changed. Family situation has changed. Life goals have changed. Relationships have changed. To pivot is not a failure. You can pivot your purpose so long as you're following something that is going to make you happy.
And as you're talking about that, Stephen, you're taking me back to another saying that we have here at Deep Wealth, myself and the team, not just for business, also for life. When it comes to options or choices, 1 is never a choice. 2 is a dilemma. 3 is only when we really begin to start having choices. And Deep Wealth Nation, with what Stephen's talking about, when you are the business and the business is you have 0 choices. You're in a prison, otherwise known as your JOB. It's not even your business anymore. When the business runs without you, okay, well, maybe I will still own the business, and we have some members in Deep Wealth Nation, they only spend a few hours a month, Stephen, incredibly lucrative, profitable businesses, and they're doing all kinds of other things. Or maybe I'll be a board member in my business, or you know what, I'll take some chips off the table, bring some investors in, or yeah, you know what, I'll exit completely. Now you're talking my language. Now we start having some options that I can decide from when I feel, in your words, Stephen, stuck, or, oh gosh, do I have to do that again today? I just did that yesterday and it's going to be tomorrow and the next day. It's like Groundhog Day all over again.
I used to say the business that I had was an ESL school, English language school. Mm-hmm. When it got to the end of it, I used to say this would be a brilliant business if it wasn't for the teachers, the students, the families.
Let me ask you something. We're going to go into wrap-up mode. I have a few more questions, but speaking of questions, I'm looking at the questions I haven't yet asked, and there's a lot of them. And I'm wondering, is there an important question to you that...
You made the mistake of giving an Irishman a microphone and asking him to talk. So,
oh, you're being polite. But is there a question, Stephen, that you and I haven't yet covered? That's an important question for you that you want to get out to Deep Wealth Nation, or even a theme, a message, topic?
No, for me, really, the Happy People Project is something that I'm really passionate about because I meet so many people who sometimes it's easy when you're feeling, oh, this is terrible, I need to get out from under it. And the pain of not changing is so great that you have to change. Where I find I get a lot of entrepreneurs who are in a business for a couple of years, family businesses that are kind of cycling through, it's just a sense of, meh, okay, and almost resignment. And that's, to me, that's not a good place to be either. So that's where I want to get people thinking about what do they actually want out of life. And I can tell you, selling one of the family businesses, basically, I'd bought the business, but I was still convincing my parents that it was a good idea to sell their third child. It's not easy. It definitely isn't. But it was, and I've shared this with a couple of people before, like the day after, I felt like I was out from under something and felt, now COVID happened a couple of months later, so I was put right back in the hole. It feels at the time, if feel like you're stuck, but you're not in pain, it can feel really difficult to make that change. And that's where you're not making progress towards your purpose. What I want people to really think about is what is that purpose for them and how can they start making progress, even on a small basis, to gain some momentum to actually have the life that they want.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And we've all been there. That weight is lifted and wow, why did I wait so long? Yeah. Why did I wait so long? Life can be short. Let's make it enjoyable, or it's going to be long. Let's make it enjoyable. And I'm wondering, as we're talking about this and making changes and with the Happy Life framework, artificial intelligence, my goodness, so much that could be said about that. What do you want us to know from where we sit today as founders and artificial intelligence, AI? What are you seeing?
I had a conversation recently, and I'm going to be writing a little piece on this. So founders are slightly different because they're probably a little bit ahead of the curve. But Gallup just released their 2025 work engagement report 2 weeks ago. And 1 in 5 almost employees whose companies use AI feel that their job will be gone to AI within 5 years, which is a huge uptick. But where I see people, and this is where it will relate to founders. So there's a lot of founders that might be thinking, okay, AI might be coming for me. But the biggest casualties are not necessarily going to be the people who AI takes or eats a certain amount of their lunch. The biggest casualty are going to be the people who are waiting to see if AI takes their lunch. If they're just sitting waiting, they're in trouble. If they're being proactive, if they're going, okay, well, how can I use this? How can I adapt this? How can I ride a little bit of this AI wave? I might need to pivot my business a little bit. I might need to adapt a couple of things, or I might need to change completely. But where can I take my curiosity to see where I can implement this to not have it just come up and be the 100-pound gorilla that's going to destroy me?
So I'm hearing you say, hey, get curious, try it out, make your mistakes, see what's out there. Don't sit on the sidelines.
For me, the curiosity is the number one superpower that any human can have, because it answers almost any issue that we have in the world if we're more curious.
Or said another way, Stephen, dreamers dream, doers do. And it takes me back. I'm going to date myself somewhat. New thing, I don't know if you heard about it, called the World Wide Web, which is coming out. And
it's going to destroy library.
But it was, it's a fad, never going to last. Don't bother. Don't waste your time or money. Just keep on doing what you're doing. Or the flip side of it, not only did people do the opposite of just ignoring it, but they went all in. Oh, yeah, we're going to decimate bricks and mortars. It's not going to exist. We're going to put everyone out of business. And I suspect it'll be the same with AI. And I've heard that with people on the podcast. We've had the experts and reading the reports out there. AI on its own, doing it on my own without AI, we both get results. It's when we combine the two, that's where we get the optimal results. So if I'm just using AI, I'm just relying on AI, it's doing 100% of everything. Okay, maybe for some back-end tasks, but when I combine that human element with AI, that's where I get the superior types of results, achievements, milestones, and goals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that said, we're going to go into wrap-up mode here. And Stephen, it's a tradition here on the Deep Wealth Podcast. It's my privilege, my honor, that every guest, I ask the same question. It's a really fun question. Let me set this up for you. When you think of the movie Back to the Future, You have that magical DeLorean car that will take you to any point in time. It's tomorrow morning, and Stephen, this is the fun part. You look outside your window, not only is the DeLorean car curbside, the door is open. It's waiting for you to hop on in, which you do. You're now going to go to any point in your life. Perhaps it's Stephen as a young child, a teenager, whatever point in time it would be. What are you telling your younger self in terms of life lessons or life wisdom? Or, hey, Stephen, do this, but don't do that. What would it sound like?
So the purely facetious answer is, as soon as you hear the word Bitcoin, buy as much of it as you can. But really what I would probably go back, and I struggle with these kind of questions because I'm kind of happy where I am. So making changes, the only thing that I would probably say is believe in yourself a little bit more at a younger age. That's probably the only thing that I was at. And I've had mentors and I've had friends have really driven that home to me as well, and telling me back in my 20s and 30s, like, you do have what it takes. You need to believe in yourself a little bit more, and just trying to listen to them a bit more. And like, it will work out the way that it's supposed to work out.
It is such stellar wisdom and insights. Believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself. It will work out the way it's supposed to work out. We're not presupposing anything. And it's interesting, Stephen, because at first there was some reluctance I picked up on. Well, I don't know, Jeffrey, if I would change anything. And to your point, that's the most common theme with all of our guests here on the podcast. Jeffrey, I don't know if I'd want to change anything, because what I thought was my darkest hour actually became my North Star. It taught me so many things. I didn't like it at the time, but today it's...
And that's the appreciation piece and happy. Like, that's the stuff that we've gone through that have brought us to where we are today. And without them, we might not be as far along our journey as we are now.
Yeah, it's that, as I like to say, resilience trumps resources. And we don't get resilience by just waking up. It's going through the things we don't really want to go through, given the choice. But you don't have a choice, and you go through it. You learn and become stronger and better because of that. And Stephen, that said, someone in Deep Wealth Nation, they want to speak with you. They have some questions. They'd like you to mentor them, coach them, speak to the team, help the business. Where would be the best place online to reach you?
Easiest is probably stephenshortt.com. It has links to everything from the Happy Work-Life Map, the Happy People Project, Talent Select, Career Fit, Successful Success. It has it all at stephenshortt.com.
And Deep Wealth Nation, it doesn't get any easier. It's all in the show notes. Go to the show notes. It's a point and click. It's all there for you. Well, Stephen, it's official. Congratulations. It's a wrap. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
So there you have it, Deep Wealth Nation. What did you think? So with all that said, and as we wrap it up, I have another question for you. Actually, it's more of a personal favor. Did you find this episode helpful? Have you found other episodes of the Deep Wealth Podcast empowering and a game changer for your journey? And if you said yes, and I really hope you did, I have a small but really meaningful way that you can actually help us out and keep these episodes coming to you. Are you ready for it? The dramatic pause. I'll just wait a moment. Drum roll, please. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast on your favorite podcast channel. When you subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast, you're saving yourself time. Every episode automatically comes to you. And I want you to know that we meticulously craft every one of our episodes to have impactful strategies, stories, expert insights that are designed to help you grow your profits, increase the value of your business, and yes, even optimize your post-exit life and your life right now, whatever you want that to look like. And every time you subscribe and a fellow entrepreneur subscribes, it's a testament to how together, yes, we are changing the social fabric of society. One business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. So don't let the momentum stop here. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast channel. You'll never miss an episode. You'll be the first to hear from the top industry leaders, the innovators, the disruptors that are really changing and shaping the business world. And maybe you're commuting, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're taking a well-deserved break that we spoke all about on this episode. The Deep Wealth Podcast, it's your reliable source for the next big idea that could literally revolutionize your business. So once again, please hit that subscribe button, stay connected, inspired, and ahead of the curve. And again, your next big breakthrough moment, it might just be one episode away. Maybe it was even this episode. So all that said, Thank you so much for listening. And remember, your wealth isn't just about the money in the bank, it's about the depth of your journey and the impact that you're creating. So let's continue this journey together. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much. God bless.